so.
Yep. First of all, what's it like to be back?
It's always fun. First day back, see everybody. So weather's nice. All friends are here, so it's time to start.
A lot of focus will be on having a new manager this year. First of all, for Braves fans who've seen Walt for like a decade or so, but haven't seen him in this role, what's he like, and what are you expecting out of camp with Walt?
Walt's a very passionate guy and very, very diligent. I think we're all excited that Walt got the job, and we kind of know the kind of personality and the kind of care he has for the game.
How are you doing? How are you feeling? And what's kind of your timeline as we get down to the floor?
I feel good. I think we're making good progress on the hip, and we're checking boxes as we go. But so far, no setbacks and everything's going well. I don't have an exact date or timeline, but I feel good, and I think everything's going well. And we're getting good reports.
What are some of the things that you're able to do right now, like physically?
Playing some catch, taking some dry swings, slowly building up to baseball activities, and starting to run today.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
What's going to be just the mood of spring training coming off of last season?
I think we just gonna double down and refocus and see where things didn't go right last year. So I think there's been some times for reflection and now address the issues.
Has there been any training that you've been working on personally to maybe help combat or prevent injuries? Like, I know they happen, but there's been anything that you've been working on to make sure they maybe aren't as prevalent?
Trying to stay flexible and get the range of motion back, and I've been just focusing on the hip, but also taking care of the shoulder and the other parts as well.
What do you anticipate will be the biggest transition going from Snit to Walt, if any?
I think it sort of remains to be seen a little bit, but I know Walt's going to do his best to make it smooth, and Snit's down here in camp too, so it'd be good to have him here too. But I think we'll see.
How do you evaluate this catchers group? Because it's kind of a similar group from last year. Chadwick back.
Yes.
Drake obviously coming off Rookie of the Year. Seems like this is a really cohesive unit.
Yeah. Obviously, Drake, being a stud and winning Rookie of the Year, that was awesome. So happy for him, and expect a lot from that guy, obviously. But I think a lot of familiarity with the pitchers is important, and so Trumpy and Drake being around, as well as Sandy too. So a lot of the same faces for guys.
How much does it help having so much, camaraderie from last season, and new manager, but of course a guy that's already been here? Does that help, and that feeling when you went to the premier?
Yeah, it just makes communication easier. The more you know guys, the more you know how to communicate with them, and you kind of get past that that small talk phase early on. When you meet somebody, you can kind of know how to just talk to somebody and get to the heart of the issue there. If you're talking about a pitch mix or something or sequencing.
What are your thoughts on the? You're going to have the robotic umpires this year.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on just like getting ready for it, working with it, things like that?
I think every team's trying to figure out what the approach is going to be on that, and I know that's one of the first things that we're going to address. We got Dustin Garneau with the catching coaches, and we're going to go over with the analytics teams and see what our strategy is going to be. And I think there's going to be a skill to it, and I think being good at challenging pitches is going to be something that we can train. I think we're going to do our best to be as accurate as possible, because flipping those close pitches is important, and I think we see it every night on TV that those borderline ones, when they go your way, they change the game.
Do you think you'll lean on some of the guys that were in the minors that have already kind of used the system before to kind of know how to master it?
Yeah. I saw it last spring, challenging a couple balls. I didn't get any right. And then Trumpy was much better at it. He's like, you just kind of get used to it. So there's going to be a comfort factor.
Is the art of framing, is it gone? You can only have so many challenges, so.
Correct. No, I don't think it's gone. I think you're going to see a lot less of those, bad strikes. A lot of the big misses, right? Like, obvious strikes that get missed and obvious balls that get called strikes. I think those are just going to get challenged and kind of deleted from the game. But there's a lot of those those 50-50 balls, those coin flips that maybe you don't challenge as a hitter because you're not even totally sure. So I think presenting those and getting those called, those really borderline ones, is still going to be helpful.
How do you kind of attack spring training? Obviously going through recovery, like you said, you're running today, but also I guess making sure you're talking with the guys, that leadership position that you're in. How do you kind of strike that balance time-wise?
I'm just trying to be as available as I am. I have rehab things to do separately, but I try and be available when guys are throwing bullpens, and at least be there and see what I can. But also get any other stuff I need to get done as well.
Sean, how special could the front of this rotation be if those guys stay healthy?
I mean, we've seen it from all those guys. We know who they are. A lot of great stuff. A lot of guys who have done it and proven it. So I think we're really excited about every single guy that we have in the rotation.
There's talk about you guys adding another starter. Do you feel pretty good about all your options to fill the rest of it out that you already have?
Yeah, I mean I'll take every guy on that wall over there. Comfortable with those guys.
Do you guys feel like a little bit of sense of unfinished business, kind of the way that things ended last year?
Absolutely. Yeah, I would say disappointing here. So I think we all expect better from ourselves.
Sean, when coming back from injury, obviously this team got bit by it pretty bad the last couple of years. How much does that impact the approach that you guys have for spring training, knowing that at the end of last season a lot of guys were out due to injury or at the start of the year even?
I think it comes down more to individual guys. I don't know if it changes the approach of the team, but maybe it changes the approach of the guys like myself that were hurt.
Did you ever imagine when you were growing up there'd be an automatic like robotic ump from when you were playing now to now? That was the thing.
No, I don't think so. I don't know. This will be an adjustment. I think it'll be sort of a fun new challenge and wrinkle. We'll see. I'm sure there will be gripes about it either way, but we'll see.
Does it take away like getting to argue with an ump, like now that it's a robot?
I still think we'll argue with them. I don't think it'll matter. I think it's
Sean, was
part of the
there
fun.
a point this offseason where you were hoping to be ready on opening day, or the wise decision is to go till May? Was there ever like a point that the timeline changed?
I mean, I'm always hoping for that. So you kind of just have to play that by ear. And no, I don't think I ever had a day that I was gunning for. I was just gunning for as soon as possible. It's a day-by-day thing.
What do you think is the most important thing for a new manager to get right in spring training?
Just talking to guys, make sure guys are comfortable. And Walt already has those relationships built here. So guys are comfortable going to Walt and talking to him, so he kind of already has the leg up on that.
Sean, with Ozuna going to Pittsburgh, how do you guys view the DH situation going into this?
Oh, I don't know about that. That's maybe above my pay grade. I'm sure we got a bunch of good options, a bunch of good hitters. I don't know.
What's like the first thing of spring training that gets you kind of in the mindset that spring training is here, I'm here, let's go?
I think it's getting here and being in the warm weather. I don't know. We got off the plane, it was 70 degrees, and it sort of felt like, it's spring training now.
Appreciate it.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, Sean.